Okay, here we are, everybody. We are going to do a cartridge modification. This is more for expert users, people who are a little bit handy, and not for the newbie, somebody who has been smoking for a bit. If you've been smoking 510s, just pretty much anything that has the polyfill to it, as far as the cartridge goes, where the e-liquid is, you notice that it is kind of limited on the amount of liquid that you can drip in. You're doing it quite often. Of course, I've come across this. I'm not the originator of this, but of course, I have been working on it and proofing it for quite a while, and I'm going to show you right now here. And I've decided to do it real time, so there might be some pauses here in this video, and that's just the way it is. So I'm going to show you how, essentially, we're going to put more fluid into the cartridge. How are we going to do that? All right, a couple things that you're going to need. Any kind of a wire clipper, usually the needle nose pliers will have that on there. A scissors, pretty easy there. A spring-loaded pen, this is very important. And of course, a cocktail straw. Now, excuse me, not a cocktail straw, a coffee straw. I do have a cocktail straw right here, and I'm kind of showing you how they are different sizes. I'm going to pull them apart right now. This is a cocktail straw. This is a coffee straw. Coffee straws are usually a little bit larger. The big portion of this is the size, the diameter. This is what we're after. This is too big. This guy here pretty much fits, and I've been messing around with it there. Now, before I do all this, I would just like to tell you you're on your own. Responsibility-wise, this is something for you to do. I'm more showing you what I have done, and if you choose to do this yourself, that is your choice. Okay? All right, so I do have the coffee straw, I do have a pen, and I do have a cartridge. We also would probably want to have a razor blade. That's going to help. And I keep paper towel around just because it is useful for that. So what are we going to do first? All right, what we're going to do first is we're going to disassemble any sort of pen that you have right there. I'm just going to unscrew that, and I'm going to pull the pen out. Here we have the spring. That's what I'm after. This little guy right here. Okay? Now, I also have a regular cartridge right here. I'm going to open this up. I have it open. As you notice, it's a brand new one. It has a polyfill that is in there. I'm going to pull that out. I am going to use probably the best tool that you can ever have an electronic cigarette. Yep, paper clip. All right. I am going to pull that polyfill out, just like so. So now I've just separated that. Now I have an empty cartridge there. First thing I'm going to work on is the spring. All right, so I'm going to take about this much of the spring right here. And, yeah, that's probably, well, that's too much. There we go. Okay, I just clicked it, separated it. There I have the spring now, very small. I've also noticed that a little portion of the spring here. Like I said, this is for somebody who's comfortable with this. Not everybody can do this. All right, just clip a little bit off there. Just make sure that it's the way I want it. Next thing I'm going to do, I am going to take my filter, my cartridge. I'm going to take the straw. I'm going to put them together. I'm going to push it as far in as I can to this empty cartridge. Hopefully you can all see this. I'm going to leave it there where it is pushed, and I'm going to go right flush, and I'm going to cut it. I've now cut the straw. See what I mean about real time? Get out of there. All right. All right, there we go. Now I have the straw. Now this straw, the way I cut it is exactly flush. You actually don't want that. You want it to be just a little smidge bit below where the flush side is. Why? Because you don't want this plastic to get near the atomizer and burn where you'd actually inhale plastic. That's not a good thing. Also, we're missing one key component. That is the way that you cut the bottom of this. I'm going to cut this at a slant, and when I make the cut of the slant right now, I'm going to take off just a little bit of the straw, which then it will recess and set a little bit lower. I'm going to do that right now. There we go. And of course it dropped down there. Okay. What I mean by the angle, there's the angle. Hopefully you guys can see that there. It is now a angle of the cut. I'm going to take the straw and also the spring together, and I am going to push them into the empty cartridge. They both pretty much went in there. I'm going to double check that that spring is all the way down there. By using this tool, you can use anything really to push that down. There we go. I'm pushing all the way down. All right. So now, if you can see into that cartridge, you have the straw located on one side and the spring on the other. Hopefully I'm moving this in the right direction where you guys can kind of see that. You can also notice that it's just a smidge bit below. And that's what I'm looking for. I'm going to take the original polyfill, I'm going to stuff it back in the best that I can. And I'm going to use my universal tool, the paper clip, to help me on this. And I'm pushing it in right now, everybody. So there we go. Pushing it back in. Obviously, not all of it's going to go back in, and that's not what I want. For those of you who have been using these cartridges for a while, you know that the polyfill naturally will sink in as you're using it, and you have to kind of pull it out there. That's how I use the paper clip there. So now I have this, and I have it pretty well down there. So about half of it is there. I will use scissors. Take the remaining part, make sure that it is tucked down, and I'm done. I have got my new Modify cartridge. It is pretty much that easy. What are the benefits of this? All right. Because you have the spring down there, you're going to have more fluid that collects on the bottom side. A lot of these cartridges will have plenty of fluid in there, but it's just not reaching to the atomizer too much. Now, also by having that straw, I'm putting the paperclip where that straw is right now. I use that quite often when I'm refilling. The straw allows your air bubbles to come up, where normally a lot of times you're constantly putting the liquid in there, and you have a bunch of air that's on the bottom, and that's what's blocking it out. This particular little straw allows those air bubbles to come back up. So I'll take some e-liquid, and I am going to put it in there right now. Now, this is another thing that I do right now, right here with a brand new cartridge, but I also do it when I'm refilling all the time. And I can put in about, in my personal opinion, 3 times the amount of liquid every time. I'll spin it around if I'm a little bit lazy. And that kind of produces a lot of the air bubbles to come up. Another way to do it is just by going up and down. And I don't know if you guys could see that. Some air bubbles just came up there. That's what we're trying to get rid of. We're trying to get rid of the air bubbles. So I'm going to go up and down. Yep, I just saw a bunch of air bubbles, and etc. And this is something that you can use for quite a while. For those of you who are familiar, you know you can keep reusing a cartridge over and over again for quite some time. So now I have that, and I'm trying to find my electronic cigarette. Put it in there, and I am good to go. All right, what are the cons to this? The cons to this is, as I've made that modification, sometimes if I overfill a little bit, because it does have more fluid than what is designed for the cigarette itself, if I do make that mistake and I overfill it just a little bit, the little inlet holes that you have around the side there, sometimes you can get a little bit of liquid that will leak out, and it is annoying, of course. And I have also noticed that if you don't take care of it very quickly with a paper towel, it can actually eat a little bit of the clear coat away from the cigarette itself. Not a big deal for me. I'm all after having the liquid on hand, not refilling all the time again and again and again. And this has handled it for me. So that's my cartridge modification. And I didn't really do a good vapor on that one. Sorry about that, everybody, but here we are. That is a cartridge modification on a 510 or other similar ones. And I'm going to show you how to do it on one of these guys. This is the 2-piece that you are commonly seeing on TV and that nature these days. This is a lot more complex to do the Vapor King, the KR800 series that you're seeing out there. But we're going to do it on the next video. See you then.